But I am not a virgin, Nana said as she began to laugh. Prince Kelechi, alongside the chiefs, were shocked as they knew she was one of the most responsible maidens in the village. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Agogo, there lived a very beautiful couple named Amechi and Adrugo. They were very kind people and they were blessed with a beautiful daughter named Nana. During that time, the kingdom was ruled prosperously by a very good king named Eze. The people of Agogo were very happy until one day. The king slept and woke no more. The villagers were devastated, and because King Eze's son, Prince Ekene, was still too young, his younger brother Ikemba was crowned king until Prince Ekene comes of age to rule. This decision was not supported by the people because Ikemba was very evil. To the extent the villagers believed he was the one who killed his brother. During this time, the widowed queen took Prince Ekene and secretly fled the village because she feared for his life and hers, and no one knew where they went to. Amechi and Adrugo loved Nana so much and provided all she ever needed. They were so happy that the villagers envied them. But this happiness was short-lived. One day, Amechi mysteriously took ill. The illness was very serious to the extent that Adrugo had to sell his properties to be able to afford his treatment. But it was to no avail. Amechi died few weeks later. His death shattered Adrugo, and she never remained the same again. Few weeks later, she died, leaving her daughter Nana behind. Nana was devastated. She had no choice than to pick herself up, as no relative was willing to help her. She was left with almost nothing, as her father's properties were sold in order to pay for his treatment. Nana went into the bush and built a little hut where she stayed until she became an adult. Nana grew up to be a very beautiful girl, well-mannered and respectful. All the men in the village admired her and wanted to be with her, but Nana refused. They pestered her for a long time until Nana had to give them a piece of her mind, warning them never to cross her path again. They threatened Nana with a payback, but she did not flinch. Soon, the gossip of how proud she was spread round the village to the extent Prince Kelechi, the son of the sitting king Ikemba, heard about her and decided to see for himself. Kelechi was very proud and arrogant, a replica of his father. Kelechi approached Nana and she greeted him as usual. He felt pompous and decided to touch her inappropriately, but his fate was met with a very hot slap. At that time, Nana did not care who he was. She warned him never to attempt touching her again. Kelechi was furious and he vowed to teach her a bitter lesson. When Kelechi got to the palace, he was welcomed with a very sad news. His father, Ikemba, was dead. Kelechi was heartbroken and his friends consoled him. Later that day, the elders summoned him to decide how his father would be buried. When he came, they discussed their plans, but Kelechi refused. My father cannot be buried like a common king. In order to ensure his safe exit into the land of the spirits, a virgin must be sacrificed, Kelechi said. The chiefs were shocked at this proclamation because that was not their tradition. They tried talking him out, but he refused. Some of the good chiefs refused and protested, while the corrupt ones agreed with him. This caused a great panic and confusion in Agogo, and all the virgins began to hide, while the non virgins were glad that they did not meet the requirement. It did not take long. Nana heard the news. She knew that she was going to be the chosen one. She had to find a desperate way out. She went into the village and began to beg any man she saw, both young and old, to marry her or even sleep with her to avoid being executed. But they all refused. All the men whom she rejected began to laugh at her, wishing for her to be the chosen one. Nana went home that day crying, looking for a way out. She thought of escaping, but there were palace guards everywhere. Meanwhile, Nana had a mysterious friend whom she helped some time back. He comes to visit her once in a while, sometimes once in a whole year. Nana would give him food and shelter, for he claimed he was a traveler that sought rest in Agogo. That night, as Nana was pacing around in her hut, she heard a knock on her door. Nana was scared. She thought it was the guards. "Who is that?" she fearfully asked. "It is me, Eke. Please open the door for me. I arrived at Agogo late today," he said. It turned out to be Nana's friend. Nana hurriedly opened the door and let him in. Eke had never seen her in that state before. He asked her what was wrong, and Nana told him everything, begging him to marry her. Eke had no choice. He looked at her with pity and knew what was needed to be done. Eke had always loved Nana. He saw this as an opportunity to marry her. They both agreed to be married, and they consummated their marriage. Very early in the morning, Eke told Nana that he had an unfinished business and that he would return very soon. Nana did not mind. She wished him good luck and he left. Later that day, the palace guards came to her house and seized her. It was the third day and the day late King Ikemba was to be buried. Prince Kelechi told the others that she was the virgin that was going to escort his father to the land of the dead. "But I am not a virgin," Nana said as she began to laugh. Prince Kelechi alongside the chiefs were shocked as they knew she was one of the most responsible maidens in the village. "You are just trying to convince us otherwise," one of the chiefs said. "No, I am not. As a matter of fact, I got married last night, and I am now someone's wife. If you doubt me, let the midwife examine me," Nana said as they summoned the palace midwife to examine her. Few moments later, the midwife came out and confirmed that truly Nana was saying the truth. They were all shocked. Prince Kelechi busted out in anger. "Who dared touch the royal sacrifice?" he said as he ordered his guards to go into the village to bring any virgin that they can find. Nana was arrested and punished severely for what she had done, but she did not mind, for it was better to be beaten than to be buried with a worthless king. Few moments later, the guards brought in a new girl. It was the daughter of one of the chiefs. They all pleaded with Prince Kelechi, but he insisted on sacrificing her. Just when they were about to be buried, a large army marched into Agogo, led by Eke. The people were shocked and began to run. They marched into the palace and slayed Prince Kelechi immediately. The chiefs and everyone present were scared. "Who are you, young man?" one of the chiefs asked. "I am Prince Ekene, son of King Eze, and the rightful heir to the throne," Eke said. When the people heard this, they were shocked. Some of them were happy, while others doubted him. They summoned a diviner, whom confirmed his identity. The people of Agogo began to rejoice. Finally, the prince has returned, they all chanted in excitement as they began to celebrate. It turned out that his mother took him far away to his grandmother's village, where he was trained and prepared for the throne. He often came secretly to check on the village and its activity, after which he would rest at Nana's hut, claiming to be a traveler. "Before we proceed, where is my wife?" Prince Ekene asked. The villagers were surprised, for they were unaware of his marriage. He told them about Nana. The guards rushed in and brought her to him. When Nana came, she was weak and badly injured. The prince rushed her to the herbalist, where she received proper treatment, after which Prince Ekene told her everything. Nana was shocked and happy at the same time. Her bride price was immediately sent to her uncles for their marriage to be official, and that was the beginning of their love story. The news of Nana's marriage to the prince became the talk of the village. All who treated her badly began to regret. Prince Ekene and Nana were immediately crowned king and queen. Nana was so happy. She never expected her kindness to a stranger who was badly injured by the guards to be the change of her life. King Ekene ordered the body of Ikemba and Kelechi to be thrown into the forest, where their souls found no rest. All the corrupt chiefs immediately realized their mistakes and pledged their loyalty to King Ekene. The king and queen ruled gloriously, and the land prospered. This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to today's story. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please leave a comment below telling us where you are watching from. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And if you don't like this story, please leave a comment below on how we can serve you better. We love and appreciate you. See you next time. Let me tell you a story about an evil hairdresser and the only child of an outcast witch. Once upon a time, in a very beautiful village of Aremu, there lived a woman named Tope. Tope was married to a great farmer, and together they had 4 beautiful children. Unfortunately, her husband met his untimely death. Tope was devastated. It didn't take long, her children started having crises. In the space of 2 years, Tope lost 3 of her children, because no one in the village knew exactly what was wrong with them. In order not to be childless, Tope took her daughter Shalewa to the river goddess to save her life. The river goddess felt pity for her and granted her wish for Shalewa to live a completely healthy life. The river goddess told her the ritual to perform and gave her a mirror, and Tope thanked her. When she was carrying out the rites, a group of villagers saw her. They went into the village and spread the rumor that she was a witch and have initiated her daughter, Shalewa. The villagers were shocked, and they sent her and her daughter away from the village, accusing them of being witches. This was heartbreaking for Tope, but she did not mind as long as her daughter was well and alive. Tope and Shalewa went into the neighboring village and began to live there. She did all she could for Shalewa, who in turn grew up to be a very good and caring daughter. And she was blessed with gifts to see what ordinary humans couldn't. As time passed, she visited her home village regularly with hopes of being accepted back one day. In the village of Aremu, there lived a very popular hairdresser named Bisola. She was renowned for her craft in hair making. Bisola was the best, and she succeeded in overtaking the rest of the stylists in the village. Although no one knew where Bisola was from, but they patronized her because of her clean crafts. Everyone talked about her. She was very fast and her hands were painless. But she had rules. No mirror or reflection were allowed in her salon. No customer was allowed to wear shoes inside her salon. These rules were strange, but no one questioned her as long as the services were rendered. But unknown to the villagers, there were strange spirits working with her, who were collecting all the stars of the maidens, making them to become invisible to suitors. This went on for a very long time until one day, Shalewa came to visit her village Aremu as advised by her mother Tope. So she decided to visit the salon as it was the right place to hear about the news regarding the village. Shalewa had been hearing about Bisola's salon, and so she decided to give her a chance. As she stepped into the salon, unaware of the rules, Bisola shouted at her to take off her shoes. This was strange to Shalewa, but she did as instructed. Just when Bisola was about to begin, she saw strange spirits hovering around the place. Shalewa, unaware of her gift, was frightened, but she decided to compose herself so Bisola does not notice. She paid her money without making her hair and promised to return to the salon some other time. Shalewa took to her heels and ran back to her mother Tope, narrating everything she experienced at Bisola's salon. Tope was shocked. For you to have seen that, it means your gift has started manifesting. Tope sat down and narrated the story surrounding her powers to Shalewa, asking her to use her powers for good and not to harm people. You have to set those maidens free from the bondage they are in, Shalewa, Tope said, as Shalewa agreed. But Mama, how do I go about it? I can only see and feel them. How do I stop such evil? Dear viewers, how do you think Shalewa would be able to help the villagers? Let's continue and find out. If you've not yet subscribed, kindly hit the subscription button and like this video. It is your way of supporting this channel. Okay, let's continue. Tope brought out a mirror, the same one that was used to trap death that was hovering around Shalewa years ago. Take this mirror, find a way to get it into the salon. When she starts to confront you, scream for help. All the spirits will have no choice than to enter the mirror where they would be trapped for eternity, Tope said to Shalewa. The next day, Shalewa wrapped the mirror and went to Bisola's salon in Aremu village. Welcome back, Shalewa. You left hurriedly yesterday. Hope all is well, Bisola asked. Yes, all is well. I remember that there was something I needed to do urgently. Reason I left hurriedly, Shalewa responded to Bisola as she told her the hairstyle she would like to make. Shalewa closely monitored the spirits, after which she brought out the mirror and began to scream. Bisola was angry. She tried all she could to destroy the mirror, but before she could do anything, the villagers ran to the salon. Immediately, all the spirits, including Bisola, entered the mirror. The villagers were shocked on seeing this. So you mean spirits have been the ones making our hair all this while? A villager said, as they all stared at the mirror, still trying to understand what just happened. Shalewa told them that Bisola have been stealing their stars, reason maidens in the village were not getting married. The villagers thanked her and asked her who she was, as no one truly knew her. My name is Shalewa and I'm from this village. My mother and I were casted out of this village several years back because she was accused of being a witch, whereas she was only trying to save my life with the help of the river goddess, whose power I now hold to do good things. Shalewa said, "Who might your mother be?" An elderly man asked. "Her name is Tokwe," Shalewa replied as she reminded them of what happened several years back. The villagers felt ashamed for what they did and apologized to Shalewa, after which they begged her to come back to the village with her mother Tokwe. Shalewa and Tokwe came back to their home at Aremu, where her powers were used to protect the land. Because of this, Tokwe became one of the most respected women in the village. Bisola's saloon was burnt down and all the maidens were set free from their bondage, and they were forever grateful to Shalewa. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson from this story is to not be quick to condemn or cast people away, because they might actually be the ones to help in the future. Imagine Shalewa had a grudge against the people of Aremu. They would have still been in bondage in the hands of Bisola, the evil hairdresser. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you liked the story. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and also share this video. Remember, by doing this, you are helping me grow this channel and making my dreams come true. We love and appreciate you so much. See you in our next story. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess named Amaka. Amaka was loved and spoiled by her father, King Obinna. King Obinna loved Princess Amaka to the extent that he gave her everything she ever wanted. But when the princess was of the age to marry, she rejected all her suitors. This made the king worried. He asked the princess what kind of husband she wanted, and the princess told him that she would only marry someone who was able to gift her an elephant. This was a difficult request, as no one has ever owned an elephant. However, the king held an assembly and told everyone about the princess's request. If any one of you is able to bring an elephant with a rope round his neck, such person would be the one to marry my daughter, the king said. The news quickly spread around the village, but this was an impossible task, as no one would be bold enough to capture an elephant. It didn't take long. They all started quitting. But in the same village, there was a clever tortoise who had always admired the princess and wished to marry her. He found this as an opportunity and quickly thought of a way, as he was very clever. The tortoise went to the king and promised to bring the elephant for the princess to prove his love for her. The king laughed but assured the tortoise that he would let him marry the princess if he succeeded, and the tortoise left. The tortoise, after hearing these words, was even more determined, and so he went on with his plan. He visited the neighboring village where his friend an elephant stayed. The elephant was so happy to see him after a very long time. "My dear friend, I'm so happy to see you. What brings you to this village today?" the elephant asked. "My dear great friend, It seems fortune had smiled on you after all these years. I come bearing great news. The king in my village is about to hold a festival soon, and he wants an elephant to be the monster of the occasion. I told him about you as I did not trust the elephant from my village, and he was willing to give you a try. The tortoise lied. The elephant was so happy, as being the master of great occasion was an honor. He thanked the tortoise, and the tortoise told him that the festival would be in 2 days and that he should start preparing. Those 2 days were unending for the elephant. He kept dreaming of how he would become the most respected animal in the village and how his life would turn around for better. But he never knew it was a lie. On the third day, the tortoise had to come up with a way to have the rope around the elephant's neck as a way to prove his ownership. He deliberately went late to the elephant's house, and when he got there, the elephant was angry. You know how important today is, and you decided to come late. Please, let's hurry to your king before he changes his mind. The tortoise agreed, and they began their journey. The tortoise began to walk slow. The elephant was impatient. Please hurry up before we arrive late, the elephant said to the tortoise. My friend, this is how fast my little legs can take me. But I can climb on your back so that we get to the palace on time. The elephant agreed with the suggestion, and the tortoise climbed in his back. Hold on, my friend. You are moving very fast. Can I put a rope round your neck so that I don't fall off and harm myself? The tortoise said as the elephant agreed. The elephant walked very fast as the tortoise held on to the rope round his neck. As they approached the palace, the tortoise began to sing in his language, which meant, My king, I have brought the elephant as promised. The elephant, unable to understand him, asked what the song meant, and the tortoise told him that he was selling the land to protect him as he was about to be given a great title. The elephant proceeded, and they got to the palace. When they got to the palace, the tortoise got down from the elephant and handed the rope over to the king as agreed. It was this moment the elephant knew what exactly had happened, but it was too late. The elephant was already trapped in the palace. The king gave the princess to the tortoise as his bride, and they got married. The tortoise was respected as he was the only one who was able to bring a live elephant to the princess. The elephant felt deceived, but he had no choice than to accept his fate and the princess as his new owner. This is the end of this story. Thank you for watching today's story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. I'll see you in our next story time. Ifeoma screamed. With the rage and hatred she had from her past, she grabbed a knife and chopped off Emeka's manhood. Once upon a time, in a small African village, there lived a girl named Ifeoma. Ifeoma was the oldest child of her parents. She was adopted by her parents, Mazi Chukwuemeka and Ngozi, when she was just 6 months old. Her parents struggled to have children for years before they finally decided to adopt her. Ifeoma was so beautiful, and her parents showered her with all the love and attention she could ever dream of. However, by the time she clocked 8 years old, Ngozi had a child, which she referred to as her own. All the love and attention shifted to Amaka, her little sister. Ifeoma felt neglected. Her parents started regretting why they adopted her. They were unable to return her, and so they were stuck together. Her presence became irritating to her parents, and her mother turned her into a house help in her home. She would be the only one to do the chores, take care of little Amaka, and also go to the farm. Ifeoma was heartbroken as that was not the life she was used to. However, she always looked forward to going to the farm as that was the time she could spend with her friends. Those days, little girls were not allowed to go to the farm unaccompanied by their elder ones. But Mazi Chukwuemeka cared less. They did not care if something bad happened to Ifeoma, as they no longer wanted her. Ifeoma made friends with all the young boys in the village, and most times they would assist her to do farm work so she could return home early. She was loved by many in the village, including her little sister Amaka. Few months after Amaka was born, Ngozi took in again and lost the pregnancy. She blamed Ifeoma, accusing her of having bad spirits. Amaka became her only biological child, as she lost all her pregnancy in mysterious ways. Amaka and Ifeoma's love was very special. Her name was the first she ever called. Even with the hatred and ill treatment, her love for her family was unwavering. One unforgettable day, Ifeoma went to her friend's house to call them so that they could all go to the farm as usual. She was told they've all gone to the market to sell the farm produce. Ifeoma was sad. She went home and told Ngozi about it, but she shouted at her and ordered her to go alone, saying that she needed fresh fruits and vegetables. Ifeoma was sad and scared, but she had no choice. Just when she was about leaving, a group of boys grabbed her, blindfolded her, and had their way with her. When she began to scream, they knocked her out, and when they were done with their evil act, they left her for dead. Ifeoma was unconscious. It took her 2 hours before she became conscious again. She struggled home, barely unable to walk. When she got home, she narrated everything that happened to her mother. Ngozi asked her to keep quiet and not to let anyone hear of it, as it will bring scandal to their family name. Coupled with that, she blamed Ifeoma for being careless. Ifeoma cried all through that day, wishing she had disobeyed her mother and stayed back at home, but it was too late. When her father came back home, Ngozi told him what Ifeoma had said, but he joined his wife and started blaming her, warning her not to ever associate with any boy again. Ever since that day, Ifeoma's life took a left turn. She never remained the same again. She stopped associating with her friends. She was always hiding, but this was just the beginning of her nightmare. Few weeks later, she found out that she was pregnant. "I knew you were going to bring shame to this family, but I never knew it would be this quick. You shameless girl," Ngozi said to her, as she packed all her belongings and secretly sent her away to her sister's house in the neighboring village. Ifeoma spent all her days and nights crying, thinking of what would become of her life. Auntie Ada, Ngozi's sister, was of no good. She and her family treated her badly. She was practically their housemaid, but Ifeoma was already used to the maltreatment. Few months later, she gave birth to a very beautiful baby girl. Ifeoma would still do all the house chores and take care of her baby, Chiamaka. This continued for years, and one day, her auntie's husband attempted to touch her inappropriately, but Ifeoma hit his head with a pestle. When Auntie Ada heard of this, she asked Ifeoma to leave her house. Ifeoma begged her, as she had nowhere else to go, but Auntie Ada had no mercy on her. She took her things and that of her daughter and left the house. Luckily for her, she saved up some money from the corn harvest. Ifeoma went far into the village and rented a hut where she and Chiamaka stayed. She would work in people's farms, do all manner of work for people just to survive. She made up her mind that her daughter was not going to experience anything like she did. Rather, she would have all the best in life. She saved up for years, after which she began to rent farmland. She would plant all manner of crops on it. It did not take long. She expanded and began to hire laborers to work on her farms. In the space of 10 years, she owned like 6 plots of land. She took care of her daughter and set her up for a bright future, even if something bad was to happen to her. Ifeoma was bold, relentless, and rich, but this did not sit well with the villagers, as it was a taboo not to be married at a certain age. A lot of people condemned her, saying her daughter Chiamaka would never experience the love and care of her father because of her selfish decisions. This went on for years, but Ifeoma paid no attention to them until one day, a group of children bullied Chiamaka, calling her a fatherless child. When Ifeoma heard this, she confronted the children and their mothers, but she was humiliated. Did they say anything that is wrong? Does your daughter have a father? One of the women said, as the rest agreed with her. Ifeoma went home that day crying, thinking of her daughter and what she must have been feeling all these years. That day, she made up her mind to change her daughter's life. Even if I don't marry for love, my daughter would have someone she calls father, Ifeoma said to herself. She took the thought of marriage serious, and with no hesitation, she married the next available man who came to ask for her hand in marriage. His name was Emeka. Emeka was very nice and gentle. Chiamaka loved him because he always gets her beautiful things and he loved to play with her. Few months into the marriage, Ifeoma took in and gave birth to a baby girl. She was happy and Emeka treated her well. In the village, Ifeoma heard news of girls being taken advantage of. She tried to find out more about it, but none of the victims were willing to speak up. Ifeoma was scared as flashes of the unfortunate incident from years back began to surface. She warned Chiamaka to stop going out, and at the same time she was grateful that Emeka was there to protect her and her little sister Ogechi. The family continued to live in happiness, and Ifeoma continued to support Emeka, as he was not financially buoyant like her. After some time, she stopped giving him money as he was unable to account for how he used it. Emeka told Ifeoma that, as the head of the home, she was supposed to transfer all her properties to him, stay at home and take care of the children. This statement was offensive to Ifeoma. She remembered how she suffered and built all she had. She couldn't risk losing herself the second time, and so she refused. Emeka would spend all his time at home doing nothing instead of working. It turned out that he married Ifeoma just to take over her wealth, but Ifeoma refused to give him money any further. Emeka told every ear that cared to listen that Ifeoma was a bad wife and that she had failed to perform her marital duties. Soon, the news spread round the village, and the villagers labeled her a condescending woman because Emeka was not rich. But this time around, she stopped caring about what the villagers had to say. She focused on working hard and providing for her children. One day, as she was about going to the farm, she asked Emeka if he would like to come with her, but he turned her down, saying he would stay at home and look after the children. Ifeoma asked Chiamaka to stay behind, just in case he decided to leave the house she could watch her little sister Ogechi. On her way to the farm, she remembered that she forgot to give her neighbor the money for foodstuff. So she went directly to the market and got them herself so Chiamaka could make soup for lunch. When she got to the house, she heard Chiamaka begging Emeka to stop. She rushed in and saw Emeka on top of her daughter. Ifeoma screamed. With the rage and hatred she had from her past, she grabbed a knife and chopped off Emeka's manhood. Ifeoma's scream alerted the neighbor, and they ran to their house, shocked to see Ifeoma hugging her children and Emeka soaked in his own blood, as his manhood was far away from his body. The villagers were shocked. They immediately knew Ifeoma had a hand in it. They took her to the king's palace. On their way, they insulted her, threw dirt at her. This evil woman has succeeded in killing the poor man, some of the women said, as they threatened to deal with her. When they got to the palace, the king looked at her in disgust. "Woman, did you really do that to your husband?" The king asked the former in an angry tone. "Yes, your highness, I did." Everyone began to protest. They asked the king for permission to kill her. Just when the king was about to grant it, the queen walked in. She begged the king to give her few seconds with Ifeoma, and he agreed. A woman can do a lot of things when angry, but to this extent, I have never seen before. "Woman, tell us exactly what happened," the queen said. Ifeoma busted out in tears. She narrated her story from how she was neglected, abused, humiliated, and how Emeka wanted to repeat the same cycle by taking advantage of her innocent daughter. The entire room was silent. The queen asked Chiamaka if it was true, and she said yes. The villagers did not want to believe her because Emeka had told them a different story about Ifeoma in the past. Just when they were protesting, a girl came out crying. The queen asked her what was wrong, and she told everyone that she was a victim of Emeka's abuse, stating that she couldn't come out because of how the villagers treated victims. Everyone was shocked, and they began to look at each other. Before they knew what was going on, 7 girls came out and said the same thing. The queen was shocked and disappointed at the villagers. You see the evil we have allowed to penetrate our land because of our lack of empathy. I wonder how many of you are victims of this act alone. Yet, you want to condemn this woman for protecting her own daughter and putting an end to this barbaric act without even hearing her side of the story. Let us learn to put ourselves in other people's situation so that we can stop condemning innocent people," the queen said as she hugged them. All the villagers went home ashamed. They all started reflecting on everything they have done. The king and queen consoled the victims, passing an order that if anyone in the village ever criticized or bullied again, that person would be made to face the wrath of the king. He apologized to Ifeoma for all the pain she had had to endure and ordered Emeka's body to be taken far into the forest in order not to contaminate the land. The villagers felt bad for all they did and said to Ifeoma. They all apologized to her, and Ifeoma forgave them. She thought of what she could do to make a difference in the village. So, she built a small union for all the victims in the village and helped them overcome their trials. Ifeoma dedicated her life to working hard, taking care of her children and offering help to those who needed it. And they lived happily ever after. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson of this story is that Stigmatizing victims is wrong and hurtful. It worsens their suffering and prevents others from seeking help. We should always be supportive and kind instead of blaming or belittling those who have been hurt. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share this video with your friends and drop a comment below on what you learned from this story. Would love to hear your thoughts. We love and appreciate you. See you in our next story. And she continued to lose weight each passing day till she became too skinny. This troubled Modupe as people also began to call her all sorts of names. A long time ago, in a little town called Agbado, there lived a girl named Modupe. She was the only child of her late parents. Modupe was very beautiful and hardworking. Not only that, she was peaceful and respectful. People often refer to her as the most beautiful girl in Agbado town. All the young men in the town wished to marry her, but Modupe's heart only beat for Kunle. People in the town thought she was under a spell because no sane woman would be in a relationship with the likes of Kunle. He was not exactly good looking, neither did he have a sustainable source of income. Kunle was a narcissist. He was arrogant, but Modupe loved him regardless and promised to be beside him and support him through thick and thin. All was well, and it did not take long before they got married. Everyone in the town was disappointed at her, but she paid no attention and believed Kunle was going to change for the better. Modupe supported his business with all her savings she had accumulated over the years, and soon things began to do well for him. Few months into the marriage, Modupe became pregnant. When it was time, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Yemisi. Modupe and Kunle were so happy, but this was the beginning of all her troubles. Modupe gained some weight as a result of childbirth, but Kunle hated her because of this. He constantly ridiculed her and lectured her on the need to shred her weight, even when she was still nursing Yemisi. Modupe pleaded with him to see reasons with her, but Kunle constantly told her that adding some weight made her ugly and less of a woman. He began to act irritated around her, which made Modupe go into depression, coupled with the nursing of her child. But Kunle was more concerned about her looks. Kunle started having an affair. He gave the mistress a free pass to shame Modupe. If you don't go back to how you used to be, I'll be forced to take a second wife, Kunle said to Modupe. Modupe was sad and heartbroken, but there was nothing much she could do. She succeeded in losing a few weight, but Kunle was still not satisfied. Few months passed. Kunle's business continued to do well. He married another wife who was very slim with a tiny waist. Her name was Yetunde, and Kunle idolized her. He spoiled her with all sorts of gifts, and shortly after, she became pregnant and had a son. This was like a dream come true for Kunle. He completely neglected Modupe. Modupe was heartbroken, but she had no choice than to pick up her broken pieces and work harder. Not a day passed that she did not do her best to win back Kunle's love, but she was constantly met with disappointment. Yetunde had a daughter after, and she remained in her petite nature, Modupe continued to live her sad life, hoping for a day Kunle's love for her would return. But she was constantly disappointed, and Yemisi grew up to see the hatred for women with big body sizes. However, Yemisi too was not left out. Few years after she reached puberty, she changed. She was no longer slim like she had hoped for. Rather, she began to add some weight, and some masculine features became noticeable. Yemisi was sad. She tried all she could to change herself, but nothing seemed to work. Yemisi, who was known to be very confident, became different. She began to isolate herself, afraid of what people might think. Modupe encouraged her to be confident and not to be idle, but she was not a good example for her to look up to. She was consumed by the humiliation that her mother received while she was growing up. Her father Kunle believed women were supposed to look a certain way, and so Yemisi grew up to think that that was all it was to a woman. One day at school, a young boy called Yemisi a hippopotamus. Yemisi cried all through that day as her classmates laughed at her. There was a girl in her class named Destiny who had experienced such fate in the past, but shockingly, Destiny became very slim after the school resumed from a holiday. Yemisi was so eager to change herself, so she decided to approach Destiny. She confided in her and Destiny offered to help her. It was a medicine my grandmother gave to me. When I started taking it, it did not take long. I became very slim. In a space of 2 weeks, to the extent I had to stop, so I don't become too skinny, Destiny said to Yemisi as she offered to help her. If it works for me, I promise to be forever grateful to you, Yemisi said to Destiny. Destiny told her how much it was worth. That day, Yemisi thought of a way she could get the money from her mother, because she would never give her the money for a purpose as such. And so she lied to her mother that the money was needed for her school examination registration. Modupe gave the money without hesitation, and Yemisi gave it to Destiny. Destiny gave her the local medicine. It was strange and had an odd smell, but Yemisi did not mind. She took the bottle from Destiny and did exactly what she was instructed. That night, after drinking it, Yemisi visited the toilet like she had never did in her entire life. She almost vomited her intestine, but still she stayed strong as she was very eager to look different. She hid it from her mother and hoped for it to work so her mother could try it out in order to look good and acceptable by her father. When I finally lose this weight, I will be beautiful and my monthly flow will be normal again, Yemisi said to herself. 1 week passed. Yemisi's weight loss became visible. She felt good and confident once more. People stopped bullying her, and in the space of 2 weeks, she looked just like the other girls in her class. She was so happy, and so she decided to stop as instructed by Destiny. Yemisi became slender. She was very happy and confident. All who saw her admired her. She was just like her mother Modupe when she was young. All who neglected her began to make friends with her, as she was the most beautiful girl in her class. But things took a left turn when the effect of the medicine continued, even when she had stopped taking it. The stooling and vomiting continued, and she continued to lose weight each passing day, till she became too skinny. This troubled Modupe as people also began to call her all sorts of names. She asked Yemisi if anything was wrong, and Yemisi denied it. Modupe became very suspicious that Yemisi was hiding something from her. She searched all of Yemisi's things but found no medicine. Few days later, Yemisi became very sick. She started passing out blood. Modupe rushed her to the hospital where it was discovered that there was an organism that was eating her up from the inside due to the harshness of the medicine Destiny sold for her. Yemisi felt horrible and opened up to her mother. "Why did you do such a thing? You are beautiful no matter the shape you are in," Modupe said as she began to cry. The doctor told them that they would have to perform a surgery on her as her condition was severe. Modupe quickly rushed home and begged Kunle, explaining the situation at hand so that he could help with some money, but Kunle refused. "Let her remain skinny," Kunle said to Modupe. Modupe had no time to waste. She took some of her valuables and sold them immediately for Yemisi's medical bills. Yemisi was filled with regret. She prayed for her surgery to be successful and vowed never to do such thing again. Yemisi went through with the surgery and began to heal. During her days at the hospital, various tests were carried out, and she discovered that she had a condition known as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, which was responsible for her weight gain, masculine features, and irregular monthly flow. The doctor advised her on what and what not to do, and days later, she was discharged from the hospital. Although it took months to regain herself completely, Yemisi was forever grateful for life. She became the most confident person in her school, after which there was a serious punishment for bullies in the school. Modupe, on realizing the kind of person Kunle was and the harm he had caused, took her things and that of Yemisi, left him and started a new life, embracing confidence and healthier lifestyle. Few years later, Yetunde and her children suddenly went missing after she persuaded Kunle to invest all his money in a fraudulent business. After which, he found out that Yetunde had duped him and the children were not his. Kunle was left heartbroken with no money, no wife, and no child. He spent the rest of his life regretting what he had done. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson of this story is to embrace confidence even when the society tries to tear us down, and also to be careful of our hurtful words and actions, as we do not know the harm it may cause to people. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, kindly hit on the like and subscribe button. Do not forget to share this video. Comment what you learned from today's story and where you are watching from below. We love and appreciate you. See you soon.